"You're too dependent on me, I'm taking a step back," my girlfriend of 5 years said, and then a friend tagged me in a photo of her getting engaged to someone else at a party. My simple, 2-word comment went viral. Emma and I had been together since college, building what I thought was a solid foundation for our future together. We'd moved in together 2 years ago, split everything fairly, and had even started talking seriously about engagement rings and wedding venues. I worked as a project manager at a tech startup, she was finishing her law degree. We were that couple everyone called relationship goals, because we actually seemed to have our lives figured out. That Tuesday evening in March changed everything when Emma came home from her study group with an expression I'd never seen before. She sat me down at our kitchen table, the one we'd picked out together at AITA, and delivered what felt like a rehearsed speech about personal growth and independence. "Liam, I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, and I realize I've never really been single as an adult," she said, her hands folded in her lap like she was delivering a business presentation. "I went straight from my parents' house to college, then straight into our relationship. I don't know who I am without this." I stared at her, trying to process what I was hearing. "Are you breaking up with me?" "No, not breaking up exactly. I just need some space to figure myself out. You've become too dependent on our relationship, and honestly, so have I. It's not healthy." The words hit me like a cold slap. Too dependent? I was the one who encouraged her to pursue law school, who supported her through the stress of the LSAT, who celebrated every small victory in her academic journey. What does that even mean, Emma? We live together. We're planning a future. How is that dependency? See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You can't imagine a life without me, and that's suffocating. I need to step back and find myself again before I can be a good partner to anyone. She spoke with this calm certainty that made my stomach drop. This wasn't a conversation, this was a verdict. "Is there someone else?" I asked, the question hanging heavy between us. "No, Liam. This isn't about another person. This is about me needing to grow as an individual. I can't do that while I'm so enmeshed in our relationship." Her choice of words felt clinical, like she'd been discussing our relationship in therapy or with friends who'd convinced her I was holding her back. "So what happens now?" "I'm going to stay with my sister Rachel for a while. We can still talk, but I need physical and emotional space to figure out what I want from life." I wanted to argue, to point out all the ways we complemented each other, all the plans we'd made, all the love we'd built. But something in her tone told me her mind was already made up. The next 3 days were a blur of watching Emma pack her belongings with mechanical efficiency. She took her clothes, her books, her laptop, and most of the decorative items that had made our apartment feel like home. "This doesn't have to be permanent," she said as she loaded the last box into her car. "I just need time to remember who I am when I'm not half of a couple." I stood in the doorway of our suddenly hollow apartment, watching her drive away with 5 years of shared memories packed into the back of her Honda Civic. The silence that followed felt deafening, and for the first time, I wondered if maybe she was right about the dependency thing. After all, I couldn't remember the last time I'd made a major decision without considering how it would affect us as a couple. 3 weeks into our break, I was scrolling through Facebook after work when a notification popped up that made my blood run cold. My college friend Jake had tagged me in a photo with the caption, "Dude, isn't this your girlfriend?" The image loaded slowly on my phone, and when it finally appeared, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. There was Emma, radiant in a flowing blue dress, holding up her left hand to show off a massive diamond ring while kissing a tall, dark-haired man I'd never seen before in my life. The post was from someone named Carter's engagement party, dated just 2 days after Emma had moved out of our apartment claiming she needed to find herself. I stared at the photo for what felt like hours, zooming in on Emma's face, searching for any sign of the woman who'd told me she needed space to grow as an individual. She looked happier than I'd seen her in months, glowing with the kind of joy I'd thought was reserved for us. The comments section was already filling up with congratulations from people I recognized, Emma's law school classmates, some mutual friends from college, even her cousin Lisa who'd been at our last Thanksgiving dinner. "Finally found your person," wrote one of her study group friends. "Carter is such a catch, so happy for you both," wrote another. My hands were shaking as I screenshot the photo and started digging deeper into this Carter guy's profile. His Facebook showed a successful-looking businessman in expensive suits, posing with luxury cars and posting from high-end restaurants. His relationship status had changed to engaged to Emma Chen just hours ago. The timeline was devastating when I started piecing it together. Emma's Instagram stories from the past 3 weeks, which I'd avoided looking at to respect her space, suddenly made horrifying sense. The coffee dates with friends were actually romantic dinners with Carter at upscale restaurants I could never afford on my project manager salary. The girls' nights were weekend getaways to mountain resorts and wine country. The study sessions were apparently shopping trips for engagement party outfits. I called Jake immediately, my voice barely steady. "How long have you known about this?" "Dude, I just saw it myself and thought there had to be some mistake." "This is insane. When did you guys break up?" "We didn't break up. She said she needed space to find herself." 3 weeks ago." "Bro." Jake's voice trailed off. "This engagement party looks like it was planned for months. The venue, the photographer, the guest list, this isn't something you throw together in 3 weeks." That's when it hit me like a freight train. Emma hadn't suddenly decided she needed independence. She'd been planning her exit strategy while lying to my face about our future together. Every conversation about wedding venues, every discussion about our 5-year plan, every moment of intimacy in those final months had been a performance while she was already emotionally invested in someone else. I spent the next hour calling our mutual friends, trying to piece together the timeline of Emma's deception. Sarah from her law school cohort reluctantly admitted she'd met Carter at a law firm networking event 4 months ago. I thought it was weird when Emma started asking questions about him, but she said she was just curious about career opportunities at his company. For months, Emma had been cultivating a relationship with Carter for 4 months while continuing to share a bed with me, make plans with me, and accept my support through her final semester of law school. The most crushing revelation came from her study group friend Michelle, who accidentally let slip that Emma had been complaining about me for months. She said you were holding her back from her potential, that you were too comfortable with mediocrity. Carter apparently helped her realize she deserved better. I hung up and stared at the engagement photo again, this time noticing details that made everything worse. Emma was wearing the earrings I'd bought her for her birthday 2 months ago. The dress looked suspiciously like one she'd modeled for me a few weeks before our break, claiming she'd bought it for a hypothetical job interview. Even her engagement ring looked like it had been chosen based on conversations we'd had about her preferences, the princess-cut diamond, the white gold setting, the delicate band she'd pointed out in jewelry store windows when we'd window shopped together. Instead of confronting Emma privately like any normal person would, I decided to respond publicly to Jake's Facebook post with a comment that would expose the timeline of her deception. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a solid 10 minutes, considering the nuclear option I was about to deploy. Then I typed 2 simple words: "Congratulations, Emma." Party popper. It looked innocent enough, but I wasn't finished. I spent the next hour carefully curating screenshots that would tell the complete story without me having to say another word. Our lease agreement showing both our names with a renewal date just 6 weeks ago. A couple photo from Valentine's Day where Emma was wearing the same earrings from her engagement party. Her text message from 3 weeks prior: "I need space to find myself. This isn't about anyone else, I promise. I love you, but I need to figure out who I am outside of us." Then I posted a follow-up comment with the receipts attached. "Congratulations on finding yourself so quickly. Here's to new beginnings, clinking glasses," and included all the screenshots in a neat little collage that painted a very clear picture of the timeline. The response was immediate and explosive. Within an hour, my comment had dozens of likes and replies from people who were putting the pieces together. "Wait, 3 weeks ago?" wrote Emma's law school friend Sarah. "Emma, what is this about?" Her cousin Lisa, who I'd shared Thanksgiving dinner with just 4 months earlier, commented, "Liam, I'm so confused. Emma told us you two broke up months ago." That's when other people started sharing their own screenshots. Emma's Instagram posts from 2 months ago showing us at a concert with the caption, "Date night with my favorite human." Her LinkedIn post from 6 weeks prior mentioning how grateful she was for my support during her final semester. A Facebook check-in at our favorite restaurant from 5 weeks ago tagged with both our names and heart emojis. The comment thread was turning into a real-time investigation as Emma's friends and family realized they'd been fed completely different stories about our relationship status. Jake, bless his heart, pinned my comment to the top of his post and added his own. Plot twist: Liam and Emma were living together until 3 weeks ago. This is awkward. By hour 2, the post had been shared over 100 times. People were tagging Emma demanding explanations, and her family members were commenting in genuine confusion. Her aunt from Portland wrote, "Emma honey, I thought you and Liam were planning to get engaged. When did you break up?" Her college roommate posted, "Girl, you were literally posting couple photos with Liam a month ago. This timeline doesn't make sense." Emma finally showed up in the comments after 3 hours, and her damage control attempt was spectacular in its failure. Liam and I had been having problems for a long time. Some relationships just run their course. I'm happy now and I hope he can be happy for me too. The problem with her response was that everyone could see the evidence contradicting her narrative. Her own social media history showed a happy couple right up until her disappearance. People started posting their own memories of us together, photos from group gatherings, comments about how solid we seemed, screenshots of Emma talking about our future plans. Her law school friend Michelle accidentally made everything worse by commenting, "But Emma, didn't you say just last month that Liam was going to propose this summer? I'm so confused about the timeline here." The viral momentum was building beyond just our friend group. People were sharing the story in relationship advice groups, posting it on Reddit forums, and even creating TikToks about the situation. Someone had screenshot the entire comment thread and posted it on Twitter with the caption, "This is why social media receipts matter." This woman told her boyfriend she needed space to find herself and got engaged 3 weeks later. Emma tried deleting her comments, then making her social media accounts private, but the internet had already preserved everything. People were messaging me directly to share similar stories of being deceived by partners who claimed they needed space while already involved with someone else. The story had taken on a life of its own, becoming less about Emma specifically and more about a pattern of behavior that apparently resonated with thousands of people. By the end of the day, the original post had over 1,000 shares and my simple "congratulations" comment had become the top-liked response with nearly 2,000 reactions. Emma's family started reaching out to me privately, apologizing for her behavior and expressing shock that they'd been completely unaware of the situation. Within 48 hours, my story had exploded across every major social media platform in ways I never could have anticipated. The original Facebook post got picked up by Twitter accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers, spawning an entire genre of memes about dependency breaks and finding yourself in someone else's bed. My phone was buzzing constantly with notifications from Instagram, TikTok, and even LinkedIn as the story spread like wildfire through different communities. Relationship advice bloggers started writing think pieces about my situation with titles like "The Modern Dating Deception," when "I need space" really means "I found someone better," and "Red flags you're being monkey branched out of your relationship." A dating coach with 500K followers on Instagram posted a video breaking down Emma's behavior patterns, using screenshots of our timeline as a case study in emotional manipulation. Even BuzzFeed picked up the story with an article called, "This man's 2-word response to his ex's engagement announcement is going viral for all the right reasons." I gained over 15,000 followers across my social media accounts in 3 days, with people commenting on posts from months ago, offering support and sharing their own similar experiences. The attention was overwhelming but oddly validating. I wasn't crazy for feeling blindsided, and Emma's behavior was apparently more common than I'd realized. Emma, meanwhile, was struggling with the public scrutiny in ways that were becoming increasingly desperate. She posted a long Instagram story trying to control the narrative. "I'm disappointed that someone I cared about would try to humiliate me publicly instead of having an adult conversation. Relationships are complicated, and sometimes people grow apart. I was unhappy for a long time and didn't know how to communicate that effectively. I hope Liam can find peace and move forward positively. The problem with her damage control attempt was that everyone had already seen the evidence. Her own posts contradicted every claim she made about being unhappy or having communication problems. People started commenting with screenshots of her gushing about our relationship just weeks before her speech, making her look even more dishonest. The situation got more interesting when Carter's ex-girlfriend reached out to me through Instagram DMs. "Hey, I saw your story going viral and I think you should know some things about Carter. He did something very similar to me 2 years ago, convinced me I was too dependent on my long-term relationship and helped me find myself right into his bed. Turns out this is kind of his thing." She sent me screenshots of conversations where Carter had systematically undermined her previous relationship, using almost identical language to what Emma had said to me about dependency and personal growth. According to his ex, Carter specifically targeted women in committed relationships, positioning himself as a sophisticated alternative while gradually convincing them their current partners were holding them back. The revelation that Emma might have been manipulated herself added a new layer to the viral story. People started digging into Carter's social media history and found a pattern of relationships with women who'd all left long-term partners around the time they started dating him. A Twitter thread documenting Carter's relationship history gained traction, with the hashtag #FindingYourselfWithCarter trending for several hours. News outlets started reaching out for interviews, and I found myself in the surreal position of being contacted by morning show producers who wanted to discuss modern dating deception on national television. A podcast about toxic relationships invited me as a guest, and somehow I'd become an accidental spokesperson for people who'd been emotionally ambushed by partners claiming they needed space. The most unexpected opportunity came from a literary agent who'd seen the viral story and thought it could be developed into a book about recognizing manipulation in relationships. "Your experience resonates with millions of people who've been gaslit into thinking they were the problem," she explained during our phone call. "There's definitely a market for your perspective on how to handle deception with dignity." Emma's professional life started suffering as the story continued to gain momentum. Her law firm apparently became aware of the situation when clients and colleagues began recognizing her from the internet drama, and according to mutual friends, she was called into meetings about maintaining professional reputation and public image. The managing partner wasn't thrilled that one of their associates had become known for deceptive relationship behavior right as she was starting her legal career. Emma's career consequences became more severe as the viral story continued to circulate through professional networks and social media algorithms kept pushing the content to new audiences. Her law firm, Morrison & Associates, prided itself on integrity and trustworthiness, qualities that were now being questioned as clients and colleagues recognized Emma from the internet drama. According to her former study group friend Sarah, who reached out to apologize for Emma's behavior, the firm's managing partners had called Emma into multiple meetings about maintaining professional standards and public image. Apparently, having your personal deception tactics become a viral case study in relationship manipulation wasn't great for building client trust in the legal field. The firm's biggest client, a family-owned business worth millions, specifically requested that Emma be removed from their account after the CEO's daughter sent him the viral story with a note about not trusting lawyers who couldn't be honest in their personal lives. Sarah mentioned that Emma was basically being frozen out of high-profile cases and relegated to document review work that paralegal interns usually handled. Meanwhile, my unexpected internet fame was opening doors I never could have imagined. The podcast interview about toxic relationships led to 3 more podcast invitations, and my social media following had grown to over 50,000 people across platforms. Brands started reaching out with sponsorship opportunities, particularly companies focused on men's mental health and relationship wellness. A subscription box service for self-improvement wanted me to be their spokesperson for rebuilding after betrayal, and honestly, the irony wasn't lost on me that Emma's deception was generating more income opportunities than my regular project management job. The literary agent I'd spoken with connected me with a publisher interested in a book about recognizing manipulation in modern relationships. The advance they offered was more than I made in 6 months at my day job, and the book deal came with opportunities for speaking engagements and relationship coaching certification. Emma's family continued reaching out with apologies that were both heartbreaking and validating. Her mother called me directly, sobbing through an explanation that they'd been completely blindsided by the engagement announcement. "We thought you were going to be our son-in-law, Liam. Emma told us just last month that you two were looking at engagement rings together. We had no idea she was even dating anyone else." Her father sent a formal written apology via email, expressing shame about his daughter's behavior and offering to help me recover any money I'd spent on shared expenses or gifts for Emma. "What Emma did was unconscionable, and it doesn't reflect the values we tried to instill in her," he wrote. "You deserved honesty, and we're mortified that our daughter chose deception instead." The most satisfying vindication came when Emma's law school friends started sharing their own stories about how she'd manipulated situations throughout her academic career. Apparently, my experience wasn't an isolated incident. Emma had a pattern of using people for support and resources while secretly pursuing better opportunities. One classmate revealed that Emma had copied her outline for constitutional law while publicly undermining her during study group sessions. Another mentioned that Emma had taken credit for a group project that someone else had largely completed. The viral story had given people permission to speak honestly about Emma's character, and the picture that emerged was of someone who consistently chose personal advancement over integrity. 3 weeks after the initial viral explosion, major media outlets were still covering the story as part of larger conversations about dating app culture, emotional manipulation, and social media accountability. A relationship expert on Good Morning America used my situation as an example of how to respond to deception with dignity rather than revenge, noting that my simple comment had been more effective than any angry confrontation could have been. Emma attempted one final public relations move by posting a lengthy Medium article titled, "Learning from Mistakes: A Young Woman's Journey Through Love and Growth." In it, she positioned herself as someone who'd made errors in judgment while navigating complex emotions, never quite taking full responsibility but trying to generate sympathy through vague admissions of imperfection. The article backfired spectacularly when people in the comments section posted screenshots of her own social media history contradicting every claim she made about our relationship being troubled or her being confused about her feelings. Her attempt to rebrand herself as a thoughtful person learning from mistakes was demolished by her own digital footprint showing deliberate deception and planning. The most shocking revelation came 6 weeks after the initial viral explosion when Carter's business partner, a guy named Marcus, reached out to me through LinkedIn with information that completely reframed everything I thought I knew about Emma's betrayal. "I saw your story online and felt like I needed to reach out," his message began. "Carter has been bragging around the office about his strategy for landing women who are in committed relationships. What happened to you wasn't random, it was calculated." Marcus sent me screenshots of Carter's text conversations where he'd outlined his systematic approach to targeting women like Emma. According to these messages, Carter specifically sought out women in long-term relationships who showed signs of ambition or dissatisfaction with their current circumstances. He'd position himself as a successful, sophisticated alternative while gradually undermining their existing relationships through carefully planted suggestions about dependency, personal growth, and unrealized potential. The texts were nauseating to read. "Emma's boyfriend sounds like a typical nice guy beta. She'll start seeing him as boring once she spends more time around real success. Just need to keep reinforcing that she deserves better." Another message showed Carter's timeline. Phase 1. Establish myself as a mentor figure discussing her career goals. Phase 2. Create doubt about her current relationship holding her back. Phase 3. Position myself as the upgrade while she initiates the breakup herself. Marcus revealed that Emma wasn't Carter's first victim. This was apparently his preferred method of dating, and he kept a literal spreadsheet tracking women he'd successfully converted from their relationships. The spreadsheet included names, relationship lengths, income levels of their previous partners, and timeline estimates for completion of his manipulation process. Carter had been running this scheme for years, specifically targeting women who were financially or emotionally dependent on partners he viewed as inferior competition. The revelation that Emma had been systematically manipulated added a complicated layer to my feelings about the situation. Part of me felt vindicated that her sudden personality change hadn't been entirely authentic, But another part was disturbed by how calculated Carter's approach had been. Emma might have chosen to deceive me, but she'd also been the target of a predatory dating strategy that exploited her insecurities and ambitions. Marcus's information became the basis for a secondary viral story that was arguably more important than my original situation. Women started coming forward on social media with similar experiences, successful men who'd pursued them while they were in committed relationships, using nearly identical language about personal growth, dependency, and unrealized potential. A Twitter thread documenting Carter's pattern gained over 100,000 likes, with dozens of women sharing screenshots of conversations that followed his exact playbook. One woman posted, "Holy shit, this guy contacted me on LinkedIn 2 years ago using the exact same career mentorship approach. I almost left my fiancé for him before I realized what was happening." Another shared, "Carter Richardson tried this exact strategy on me last year. The spreadsheet thing explains why he knew so much about my relationship timeline." The story evolved beyond just relationship drama into a larger conversation about predatory dating behaviors and how successful men sometimes weaponize career advancement and personal development rhetoric to manipulate women into leaving stable relationships. Dating coaches and relationship experts started using Carter's strategy as an example of sophisticated emotional manipulation, warning women about men who showed excessive interest in their career dissatisfaction or relationship dynamics. Carter's own professional reputation began suffering as his business clients became aware of his personal behavior patterns. His consulting firm's website started getting flooded with negative reviews referencing his relationship disruption strategies. And according to Marcus, several major clients terminated their contracts after the viral story connected Carter's business practices with his personal manipulation tactics. The most satisfying development was watching Carter's carefully constructed image unravel as more women shared their experiences. His LinkedIn profile, which had showcased him as a relationship-positive leadership consultant, became a target for comments from women warning others about his predatory behavior patterns. 6 months after my simple "congratulations" comment broke the internet, the fallout had settled into a new normal that was better than anything I could have imagined when Emma first delivered her dependency speech. Emma and Carter's engagement had imploded spectacularly after she discovered his manipulation spreadsheet through one of the women who'd come forward with similar stories. According to mutual friends, Emma had confronted Carter about his systematic approach to relationship disruption, and he'd apparently admitted to everything with the casual indifference of someone discussing a successful sales strategy. The breakup was messy and public, with Emma posting cryptic Instagram stories about being used and learning hard lessons about trust, though she never quite acknowledged the irony of complaining about deception after what she'd done to me. Her professional reputation remained damaged. The law firm had quietly encouraged her to seek opportunities elsewhere, and she'd ended up taking a position at a much smaller practice for significantly less money. Meanwhile, I'd leveraged my unexpected internet fame into something genuinely meaningful. My social media following had grown to over 200,000 people across platforms, and I'd built a community focused on relationship awareness, healthy communication, and recognizing manipulation tactics. The book deal had turned into a best-selling guide called Space to Grow, recognizing when I need time really means I found someone else, and the speaking engagements were paying more than my old project management job ever had. The most unexpected development was meeting someone incredible through the whole experience. A woman named Jessica had reached out after seeing my story, not to commiserate about bad relationships, but to compliment how I'd handled the situation with dignity and humor. "I've been following your posts about healthy relationship dynamics," her initial message read, "and I'm impressed by how you turned such a painful experience into something that helps other people." Jessica was a therapist specializing in relationship counseling, and our first coffee date turned into a 4-hour conversation about communication styles, emotional intelligence, and the importance of genuine partnership. She appreciated my analytical approach to understanding what had gone wrong with Emma, and I was fascinated by her professional insights into manipulation tactics and emotional abuse patterns. What struck me most about dating Jessica was how effortless everything felt compared to my relationship with Emma. There was no game playing, no hidden agendas, no feeling like I had to prove my worth constantly. Jessica valued the same things I did: honesty, mutual support, building something real together, and she'd actually read my book before our first date because she was genuinely interested in my perspective on modern dating challenges. We'd been together for 3 months when Emma reached out for the first time since her engagement had ended. Her message was long and rambling, full of apologies mixed with explanations about how Carter had manipulated her thinking and convinced her that our relationship was holding her back from her potential. I realize now that what we had was real, and I threw it away for something that was completely fake, she wrote. Carter never actually cared about me. I was just another target in his weird dating game. I miss what we had, and I wonder if there's any chance we could try again. I showed the message to Jessica, not because I needed permission to respond, but because I valued her perspective as both my girlfriend and a professional who understood manipulation dynamics. She's not necessarily lying about being manipulated, Jessica said, but notice how her apology still centers her experience rather than acknowledging the specific harm she caused you. Real accountability would focus on your pain, not her discovery that Carter wasn't who she thought he was. I responded to Emma with a message that was kind but firm. I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm sorry you went through that manipulation with Carter. I hope you're able to heal from that experience and find the personal growth you were looking for. I've moved on completely, and I'm in a happy relationship with someone who values honesty and communication from the beginning. I wish you well, but this chapter of my life is closed. Her response came quickly. I understand. I hope she appreciates what she has. You deserved better than what I gave you. It was the first time Emma had actually acknowledged that her behavior toward me had been wrong, rather than just explaining her circumstances. The viral story had become a teaching tool that Jessica and I sometimes referenced in conversations about red flags and healthy relationship dynamics. My social media platform continued growing as people shared their own experiences with deceptive partners and manipulative dating strategies. The community that had formed around my initial story had evolved into something genuinely helpful, a space where people could learn to recognize emotional manipulation and build healthier relationships. Looking back, Emma's betrayal had been devastating in the moment, but it had ultimately led me to understand my own worth and find someone who appreciated the qualities Emma had taken for granted. The dependency she'd criticized in me was actually my capacity for deep commitment and partnership